Well, welcome to the show. Yes, again, we've been saying it every week this year. We're going to go and get the best from around the world. And I've been drawn back to the States. Tameka Chapman, she is an author. She is a mum of two beautiful little children. She's an award-winning speaker, TV producer, and for some crazy reason, she started her own TV, you would call conglomerate called TV Mogul Media. And we're going to hear all about that. She's a beautiful person. Please welcome to the show, Tameka. How are you?
I'm fine, Mr. Robert. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. How are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely great. So we were talking before. You live just south of Washington, D.C.
I am. I've been here for about 8 years in Virginia.
Yeah.
The beautiful Virginia. You need to come.
Well,
You should
I could.
visit.
If we could just get over this pandemic, I will.
I know. Eventually we will. Eventually we will. I'm believing it. But yes, I am south of Washington, D.C. I've been here for about 8 years.
Yep.
And actually came to this area because of a job that brought us here. But we're here and we are settling here for home for life.
So where were you born?
I was born in a little country town in Louisiana.
Wow.
I'm from Louisiana, yes. I was born and raised in central Louisiana in
Yep.
a town named Natchitoches.
Yep.
It's a little long little city title, but yeah, for 18 years of my life, I lived there. I enjoyed being close to family because the little towns is really how you get a chance to know everybody in town because really we're all related. But yes, I'm from Natchitoches, Louisiana.
So did you just keep living there, or did you move? Because I noticed at one stage you became a paralegal, so you would have had to do some study somewhere. Did you? Obviously, you didn't do that in the local library
Yeah.
in a little town down there.
No, there's a lot that happened between me turning 18 and then becoming a paralegal. So after I graduated, I actually joined the U.S. Navy,
Yeah.
and I did an initial enlistment there and decided that the Navy was not for me because I get seasick. Had I known that I would get seasick, I probably would have chosen a different service.
So the cute guys in the
But
nice
after,
uniforms weren't enough.
nah, that was not enough to keep me in. No. But I will say that I met and married my husband right before I was discharged out of the military, and
Yeah.
so we married in 1999, and we've been married for 23 years now.
Awesome.
But after I was discharged, we moved around with his service and his different when he would reenlist, we would move somewhere else. And so I pretty much became a Navy wife at that
Yep.
point. And then I decided, okay, I need to do something with myself. What is it that I really want to do? Because I didn't take to the traditional route after high school.
Hmm.
I decided, okay, now it's time to go to school. It's time for
Yep.
me to, learn a trade or something so that I can, start earning an income and creating a career for myself.
Yeah.
And I chose the paralegal route.
So what
And
was
I
it?
became a paralegal in 2000.
What was it with the legal side that attracted you? Because anyone who looks you up online or sees legal and who you are don't seem to match.
It may not match, but here's the thing. I have two passions in life, two major passions. One is the legal system,
Hmm.
and one is numbers. The other, I love numbers. I'm kind of a little weird thing with numbers that I do anytime I see numbers. But I had to decide on whether I wanted to become a mathematician. And after I looked at all of the courses that I needed to take, including some that I didn't want to take, I said, that's not for me. So I chose to go the paralegal route. Um, I have been told so many times, you should go to law school, you should go to law school. I'm just like, nah, law school's not for me. I love paralegal. But yes, I decided to go the paralegal route. I love the law. I love reading
Yeah.
and learning about the law and codes and stuff like that. So yeah, that's me. I'm a little nerd.
So if you look back now, and we've got a couple of young ladies looking at your early journey. What's the best piece of advice you'd give them, because you went your own route? You didn't go what everyone else told you should go and do.
Yeah.
So you've left school, you've gone into the Navy, you're seasick, you left, you found your husband, then you decided, oh, I better go and learn something. If a young lady says to you, they're 22, 24, what should I do or how should I live my life up to there? What would you say to them?
I would say live your life the way that you want to live it.
Yeah,
Do the things that make you actually happy. That's so cliche. So many people say, go live your life, live it to the best that you can. But it's really true, because what happens is when you just do what everybody else wants you to do, you
yeah,
go down this route and you're doing exactly what they're telling you to do, you feel lost. You feel like you have no voice. You feel unheard, unseen, because you're just going and you're pretty much on autopilot. But I
yeah,
would say, even though I had amazing people in my life that told me education is a must, you must have an education. These are the things that you must do. You must, save some money if you have a job, and you must have an education because it's going to take you so much further. I definitely believe that in whatever way you seek your education, it's fine. Nowadays, you don't really need to have, a master's or a doctorate to actually succeed in life. And I'm actually living proof of that, because I started my journey getting an associate's degree, and that associate's degree took me all the way to the government and making a six-figure income before I decided to get additional education. So again, it's not that it's not important, but it's not the main thing that you should be focused on, of pleasing other people to have an education to do in order to become successful or have a good life. So I would tell them, decide on what it is that you're really passionate about. What are the things that you really love to just get up and do? What is the thing that you can just talk about all day long? And then find a way to create a career out of it, or join a company that does that thing that allows you to live out your fullest, pleasures. I really would say that
and what would you
nowadays.
say? And this is where a lot of young people, they come to me, and I'm sure they say to you, and they say, but what about if I make a mistake? What about if my choices are wrong? Doesn't that hurt me?
Yeah.
They're afraid.
Wow. Yeah, it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be afraid, but you can't allow your fear to stop you from moving forward. Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah,
Everybody makes mistakes. Even Thomas Edison, who created the light bulb, okay? He made mistakes before we now have light.
yeah,
So you have to be willing to face those fears and step forward. I have 5 pillars of perseverance. And the first step is understanding that your setbacks are just stepping stones to your greater.
true.
So don't look at your mistakes as, oh, I failed in life. No, look at it as something you can learn from, so that the next time you won't make the same choices and you can move a little bit further.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say about fears and mistakes. They're not mistakes, they're learning lessons.
I always say to people, if I'm coaching them or talking to them, I say, jump without a parachute because you'll fly. And they look at me funny.
Yes.
And I turn around and say to them,
Yes.
I've walked on stage to interview somebody and I don't use notes. And they go, you don't use notes? And I say, yeah. And they go, why? I said, well, that's half the fun. If you
Yeah.
know your subject, as you just said, you're doing something you're passionate about. When you're interviewing someone, and it's like starting a job you don't know. I've started a job I knew
Yeah.
nothing about, but I had the skills. That's fuel.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Right?
The
Absolutely. I would also say this about that first, about making those mistakes. When I became a paralegal, I was hired as a paralegal before I actually graduated, right?
Awesome.
And when I tell you fear was there, I was just like, oh my gosh, like what am I supposed to do? Are you sure you want to hire me? I thought I was just doing an internship, but you okay, if you want to pay me, okay. And the thing about it, when you said jump without a parachute and you'll fly, that's exactly what I did. I
Yeah.
jumped in and I learned on the job exactly what I needed to do. And I relied on the community that was around me, who were, paralegals and others around me, to make sure that I was doing things the proper way. When I tell you I became so efficient at what I was doing,
Mm.
that's my flying right there. That's how I flew.
So
So I agree with you.
where did your interest in the media business come from?
always been interested in some form of arts and entertainment.
Yep.
Really, I'm a very creative person. I've always had a creative side that people would always say, "Wow, are you really sure that you're supposed to be in the legal field?" And so I was just like, "Okay, but this is, I can do it, so I like to do it." And so I began actually around 8 years old writing books. I
Yep.
didn't know that they were little books back then, but now that I look back on it, I was writing books for my sisters and my brothers and my little cousins, teaching them about different things and journaling. But I love all things that I can just be creative with. So painting, sewing, drawing. I'm not the best drawer. Please do not come for me. But I love all things creativity. And I would say that my first bit of the media space came when I was about, I think, 12 or 13 years old, when I was a part of a youth choir and we were invited to a gospel TV show.
Yep.
And once I got in the studio, I was just like, wow, okay, this is nice. I like this. And I never forgot that. And so I would say that I've always had an interest in TV in some kind of way. I thought at one point that I wanted to be an actress. Once I figured out, I was like, oh, they make money per episode. Like I can make money every time I appear on TV. So I want to do that. But of course, that was me as a little girl. That was me as a little girl of not understanding the business. But once I got older and started doing more research and then decided, this is something that I really would like to do, things became to align themselves in order for me to have that opportunity. So yes, just being creative in general, and then having the knowledge that this was an opportunity for me to now take my message of empowerment, women's empowerment and positivity across the globe by being on TV. I knew that it was going to come. I just didn't know when, but I knew it would come.
So where did Mogul TV come from, and how did you get that started?
So when people think of the word mogul, a lot of times it just goes to the amount of money people have in the bank,
True.
right? So they
Very
think
true.
of, they have so many, so much success in business. They have, billions and billions of dollars in the bank, but really and truly being a mogul is a mindset.
Yeah.
They have a certain mindset in order to have the success that they have. They have a certain lifestyle that they lead in order to see that success. So it's not all about the money, it's about the mindset. For me, everything is about the mindset. I believe that if you can think of anything that you're wanting to do in life, there is a way for you to actually achieve it. And so that's what the Mogul TV network stands for. It stands for the mindset. And we want to empower people across the globe with positivity, with so much stress, so much depression, so many, just awful things are happening in life to so many people around the world. I wanted to be a beacon. How you have that lighthouse, they have that shining light just going around and around to let you know this is a signal for safety. This is a signal for where you are, where you're located. And so we want to be a beacon of positivity to the world, that even though you're going through so much right now, there is still a way and a reason to smile and laugh. And so if we can impart any kind of positivity into people's lives, then that's what we are here to do with the Mogul TV Global Network.
So when you came up with this idea, did your lovely husband just look at you and go, I need to go on another deployment?
Oh my gosh, listen.
Am I right?
Well, no, not necessarily.
I think I might be partly right.
He questions everything. He says, okay, so how are you going to do this? What does that mean? What is the investment? So he had all of the questions that I really did not want to answer because I was still figuring it out initially. And I was just like, okay, but just believe me, just believe in me and my dream and my vision. I promise you something great is going to come from this. And so eventually, probably it took me about a good 2 weeks to really get him on board. But he is on board. He is very supportive of what it is that we're doing. And he likes to mock me every once in a while, calling me the mogul around the house.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So yes, we're enjoying it. We are enjoying it. Yes.
What was your biggest challenge when you decided that you wanted to take on Fox and CNN and everyone else from around the world and start your own TV channel?
Listen, so at the end of the day, there's this, I've seen it so many times across social media,
Yeah.
that no matter how many loaves of bread are in the store, somebody's going to pick up your loaf. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm not really, I wouldn't see myself as competing with Fox and, CBS and ABC and all of them. I see me adding to what it is that they're doing. I see the network adding positive content, whereas they are, focused on other aspects. We are focused on what's positive, what's entertaining, what's educational, what's empowering to others around the world. And so I would say that the Mogul TV network is really focused on, there's a few main pieces that we're focused on. One
That's
is
true.
women's empowerment, because that is one of the main things that we are, that's all about me, just women's empowerment. So we have health and wellness. We also have the millennial generation. So many times the millennial generation is overlooked. Nobody wants to hear from the millennials. We heard so many complaints. Oh, they fuss too much. Oh, they complain too much. Oh, they're never on time. They're not going to get it done. But I am intentional about giving the millennial generation a voice, because they are our future leaders. So we have to either ignore them and skip a generation, or we have to embrace them and teach them and show them by listening and working together with them. So let's collaborate and do something better than what's been done. And so again, it's just all about what it is that we're creating, and just making sure that what we create is what people are interested in seeing, not just, we're watching it because of the drama and the nonsense. And so, yeah, we're just focused on the positive points of it all, because you can get the news from everywhere else. We're not, we're not your local news station. We are a station of positivity.
Rachel, my wife, and I were looking the other night for a movie to watch on our cable presenter, as you guys would call it. And we've got multiples and all that here in Australia, and everything was doom, gloom, ugly, blowing up, violent. It took forever to find. I mean, sometimes you just want to watch a show that you don't have to use your brain. I mean, you've got the Real Housewives of wherever where you don't use your brain, but you wanted to watch something else, and you sit there going, there isn't much around. And especially when you talk about the millennials, there's nothing around for them. I mean, they are a unique group. They are difficult to communicate with. Let's be completely honest. But there isn't, I mean, apart from TikTok, there's not a lot. So you do have a really good market there.
Yes, and we've teamed up with a bunch of millennials across the globe. We have an event that we call Millennial Voices, the Experience, and it is a platform where it just allows millennials to talk about the things that are important to them. That's the beginning phase. It's a quarterly event, but it's just a continuous of the conversations that we really need to be having, and just hearing what their concerns are, how they're feeling, what are their thoughts about things that are happening in the world. And I think that's a great point, a great place to start, so that we can, continue the conversation in nurturing the generation to be what we need for the world.
I agree with one of the things you're saying. I work also, male-dominated industry, and people say to you, why don't you have enough women or young ladies in the industry? And we say we don't know, because we want them, because they change the dynamic. But all we hear, especially from millennials, when you're talking about empowering young women, is they're too worried about what the person they're looking at on Instagram or TikTok looks like, is wearing, is all that. And we all know that's fake. It's not real.
Yeah.
And when you see a young, confident lady come into a business, even if she's starting out, it is great to see, because I love it, because it puts all the guys on edge. All of a sudden, they swear less. They act a little bit better. They don't, they behave a lot better. And how do we get through to young ladies to stop worrying and judging and dressing just because of the most popular person on TikTok or Instagram, and just be yourself and use the skills you have to go out, kick ass and be successful?
Yes. I would say that's going to be the challenge. That's going to forever be the challenge, especially with the millennial generation, because they're so social. Like most of them were born when not TikTok, but with the social media era.
Yeah.
Most of them were born during this era where this is what they know. They don't really have landlines. They don't even know what a landline is. I have to say a
No.
house phone, okay? And so for them, their life is surrounded by this phone, this device. I rarely
Yes.
turn my phone, my internet, my data on my phone. I'm rarely on my data
Yep.
because that's just not me. But for millennials, they are constantly hooked to an electronic device.
Yes.
And I think that it's not all their fault,
No.
but it's going to take them, they're going to have the mindset shift or the mindset change that really is necessary for them to break free from the whole, facade of I have to look a certain way, I have to dress a certain way, I have to, walk or live a certain way. It's easy for you and I to say, that's the fakeness of it all. But for them, it's going to require a mindset shift
Yeah.
for them to do that. And, the more apps, the more cool apps that keeps hitting the market, the less likely they are to drift away from it. Because again, that's where the attention seekers are. They're on social media trying to get your attention with a picture of this or a picture of that or a caption of this or a caption of that. So again, it's a mindset shift. I think it's going to take maybe conversations like this and inviting them to the conversation, to have these real conversations. I believe it's going to take more millennial influencers, which is what we are working to create.
Yeah.
Millennial influencers who are focused on the positive side of life, who are
True.
focused on career and education, focused on, doing the right things in life, than worried about what's on social media.
Yeah. I think I found when I've worked with them or come across a lot of them especially at business, they forget that sometimes when we say things, we're trying to get them not to make the mistakes that we did. But they put a defense straight
Yeah.
up. And yeah, when I was young, I was probably fairly similar too, but they really go hard. They really go back and say, what would you know, this father? And you sit there going, well, okay, that's cool. Next time I'm employing someone, I won't employ you. I'll employ someone that's older.
Right.
And
Right.
you
And
sit,
it gets such a bad rap.
you want to get them and shake them and, hey, guys, you got best education, the best opportunities. It's a lot
Yeah.
easier in some ways to get ahead than what it is. But now you want to be ahead that much quicker than everyone else. You need to, they do worry me, because I want them to be the best leaders. I want them to go out and absolutely kick ass and be super
Yeah.
successful in whatever they want to do. And it is a tough challenge trying to communicate with them. And managers come to me all the time going, how do I get through to them?
For me, I think I have just a high level of patience.
Yeah.
And I think that's in general for anybody, especially, if you're dealing with younger generations. But I have a high level of patience when it comes to just hearing people, hearing their thoughts. Because at times we can butt heads. I butt heads all the time
Well,
with,
that's good.
with the generation. I butt heads all the time. But at the same time, it still has to require a level of respect coming from both sides. There has to be respect. There has to be mutual respect. But it
Yes.
also is, I want to make sure that they feel heard, because of what I've heard, what I've gotten from them is that sometimes they don't feel heard, or sometimes they are feeling like nobody wants to hear what they have to say, or they're not validating how I feel or what it is that I'm going through. And so again, I just like to listen and hear what people are saying, hear what the millennial generation, what they're saying that they're needing. And I think that if we can meet them to a point to say, okay, I hear you, I acknowledge you. I don't need to validate you because you don't need validation. And that's my biggest thing. You don't need validation, but I
Yeah.
acknowledge what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. So this is what I'm willing to do to meet you where you are. And now this is what I need you to do so that we can elevate together. And I
That's
think if we
awesome.
start having those kind of conversations, it'll be better for everybody.
I think that's awesome advice. A couple of quick things. A lot of women get a bad rap when they're super successful because they're hard nosed, they're hard ass, and they can come across a lot harder than a man. Do you think that's fair? Because they may believe that they've got to be that way to be successful, or do you think that they're just given that much of a hard time to prove themselves that they become a creation of the industry they're in?
So here's the thing. I don't subscribe to either model. But I will say that I am aware that it exists. I'm aware that a lot of men will put more pressure on women to have to prove themselves
Yeah.
that they belong in a certain industry. And
Yep.
I'm aware that a lot of women feel that they need to go even harder just to prove themselves, to others, men and women, that they belong where they are.
Yeah.
Um, I don't like either one of those models because, for one, it's devaluing the woman's position, it's devaluing her
True.
worth to whatever it is that she's doing
Yes.
on both sides. So you are either devaluing yourself and then you're giving someone else the permission to say you're not worth it, you don't belong here. And so I believe that if we just stand in our own space, and not saying that you have to, try to outdo everybody, because it's not a competition. You don't have
No.
to compete with everybody. Go and be and exist in what it is that you feel called to do. Do it to the best of your ability and let all the rest of it, just fall by the wayside. At least that's how I live. I don't focus on what everybody else is doing. I love to collaborate and work with people, but unfortunately, so many women have fallen into that trap of, how do I outdo and how do I, go beyond? And I'm just like, it's time out for the go beyond part. It's time for you to just believe in yourself, regardless if anyone else believes in you or not. Just believe in yourself and do what it is that you can do to the best of your ability.
If a big time producer came to you, Tamika, and said, "I've got the budget, I've got the crew," what would be the ultimate show you would love produced to go on Mogul TV?
Oh my gosh, the ultimate show. Wow. I
I
have
love
so
throwing
many
these questions
ideas.
up when my guests never know. For those who are listening, the guests never know what questions they're going to get from me. So you maybe not be able to see her face, but at the moment she's thinking not very nice thoughts of me, as she's going, "What am I going to say
Oh my
here?"
God.
What would
I
be the
would
most passionate
say,
show you'd love made?
yeah, I was going to say the most passionate show is actually something that I actually want to do later this year or either
Yeah.
early next year. But it's all about women and infertility.
Yep. Yeah.
Because I will say that I actually had my own journey of infertility, actually
Yep.
18 years of infertility that I struggled before we were blessed with our two children. And so that's a big passion of mine, of
Mm.
wanting to, have other women understand that they're not by themselves. You don't have to be alone. Even though you're going through it. Now, there's been so many others who have come out with, content and films about infertility and their challenges. But I think if the biggest thing that I would do is get everybody that has done this before to bring us all together and have a big just conversation about it. Like that is like the biggest thing that I can think of. Because again, it's all about, if we think about, all of the quotes that are out there, women, empower a nation. But when we are going through times like that, we're depressed, we're frustrated, we're easily to anger at times. We're not
Really?
wanting to be bothered in any kind of way. Yes, really, okay? I
I'm
lived
shocked.
it for 18 years. No, it takes you to another level, and all the things you go through trying to create a family. You're pumping yourself with hormones. You're seeing a doctor this week. You're seeing another doctor this week. It is just insane. And I think that if we can all come together to empower women to be able to enjoy their journey while on the journey, that is going to make a difference. It would make a difference because we can't empower a nation when we can't empower ourselves. When we
That's
have
true.
nothing in us to empower ourselves, to smile about, we cannot help anybody else. And so I believe that, again, it still goes on that whole empowerment ride that I'm on, of making sure that women feel empowered regardless of what they're going through in life.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think sometimes it can be taken too far, and the message gets lost in the passion. Uh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I can see, we can see when I'm talking to you and when people listening to you that where you're coming from is from a good place. Other people sometimes take a message and make it political, make it religious, make it whatever, and they lose what they actually set out to achieve. And it can hurt.
Yeah.
it can do more damage than what it can and good. And I think young ladies
Absolutely.
especially need to have that passion within them to be able to stand up, and young mums who are trying to be mums, because they may not have had a bub, but they're still a mum.
Yes.
They're still waiting and yearning to do it. With
Yes.
Mogul Television, if I fast forward to a couple of years, where do you hope to see it? What do you hope to be
Wow.
achieving? I mean, in real terms.
Listen, I would say that on the track that we're on right now, I see Mogul TV being as big and as a household name as ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, and all the others, right? Including OWN Network, Oprah, my girl, Oprah. So, I see Mogul TV being a household name. I see
Awesome.
it having plenty of men and women who are on the network with amazing shows and amazing ideas of what it is that they see, need the world needing, and we're creating that based on the need that we see in the world. And that's where I see Mogul TV Global Network.
Absolutely. Also, if someone's sitting somewhere around the world and has an idea for a show or wants to pitch something to you to see if you think it'll work or not, how would they do that? Because a lot of people, some of the best ideas are from people who've got no clue on how to put something together or start a podcast or do anything. How do they do it?
How do they reach me?
Yeah, well, how do
simply,
they pitch to a lady like you who owns a TV network that's just starting out? What would you say to them?
I would say, first of all, be confident before we get on the call.
Yeah.
Because if you're not confident in what it is that you're trying to pitch, it's going to shine through very, very clearly.
Yeah.
And we'll all be able to see, that you're uncomfortable with where you are. I think that I'm one of the most relaxed, laid back people you probably ever meet. I'm a good country girl, so I have a loud laugh and I love to laugh. But
we're going to get into that in a moment.
I think I'm one of the most relaxed people. And so if you were to reach out to someone like me who has a network, who is looking for someone to pitch their ideas for potential shows on the network, first and foremost, be confident too. Be ready to just talk about it, talk through it. And then 3, send an email. You cannot get in contact with someone if you don't send the email. Okay, send the email and let's have a conversation. That's really what it takes for me. That's what it takes, because I'm more interested in your passion than I'm interested in anything else. I want to hear your passion behind it and why, because I don't want to take it on and do it. I want to work with you. I'm more into collaboration than just the takeover spirit.
I love it. I love it. It's great to hear someone that's like that. But more importantly, what is the favorite meal you love cooking for your family?
Oh, okay. So listen, I love Thanksgiving. Okay. Yep. I love Thanksgiving. And I say, why do we have to wait until Thanksgiving to have Thanksgiving dinner? Okay.
True.
So I love everything about the Thanksgiving dinner. For me, I would say some greens and cornbread and some dressing. I would say some candied yams. I would also say some chicken and some fish, because I don't eat, I'm a vegetarian, so I have to have my fish. But I would have chicken for the rest of the family.
Yep.
And a good glass of water to wash it all down. Again, I'm a good country girl, so we like to eat.
So I'll hear you about the fish. My favorite fish and my wife's is we love to have whole barramundi or salmon down in Australia.
Okay.
We like to cook it whole.
I've tried salmon.
Yeah. We don't cook a salmon inside the oven, but we do the barra.
Yeah.
What's your favorite fish?
My favorite fish is actually mahi-mahi.
Yep. And do you like to cook? How do you cook it?
I love it. So we either grill it or we'll put it in the oven and bake it.
Yep.
Yeah, those are the two ways we do. We put it on the grill or we put it in the oven.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So before we wrap up, I'm going to throw you another question that you don't know is coming.
Uh-oh.
If I could give you 2 people and you're going to sit on stage like Oprah, and you could have two guests come out and interview. Who are they going to be and why?
Wow.
And it's on your own TV show. You get a one chance
On my own TV show.
on your own network. Who are you going to bring out? Thinking of everything you're trying to achieve.
Of everything that I'm trying to achieve, one person would be Tiffany Haddish. I love her spirit.
Yeah.
I love her energy.
Yep.
She's a comedian, but she's full of positivity. She's full of positivity. She wants to see people win and succeed. And that's like right up my alley. And the second person I would probably, like, this is going to be the hard one because there's so many people, but I would say Oprah Winfrey. I would say Oprah Winfrey. I love her. Like, she is, she's, as a little girl growing up, seeing her on TV with her own show, that was a big inspiration as well.
Yep.
And now that I have an opportunity to potentially interview her, Miss Rob, I need you to get this to her, okay? But I would love to interview her, and
I'll tag her when we put this online.
Yes, we've all heard her journey. She shared her journey many times over. But I think it's something different when you can actually have a conversation with someone. I think it hits a little bit different when you can just have that genuine conversation and interviewing someone. So I think that would be the two. There's so many, so don't y'all feel bad, but those would be my first two picks.
Don't forget, her poor, long-suffering husband doesn't even get a rating. He'll be handing out the chips and drinks as people come in and probably taking their tickets. Look, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you today, Tameka. How do people get in touch with you? Where do they find you so they can say good day, as we say in Australia, and maybe pitch the odd TV show to you?
Absolutely. So you can find me on social media, or Facebook and Instagram at Mogul TV Global.
Yep.
You can find our content at themoguls.tv or via email, info@themogulchannel.com.
Absolutely awesome. Thank you so much. It is absolutely brilliant to talk with someone full of so much love and laughter. I've really enjoyed this so much. You take care, be safe, and we'll catch you on the next side. And as we say at the end of all of our podcasts, have a groovy day.